So I want to make a part 2 to that video because I started to say that in the 7th dimension, what's happening is they are observing our collapse rather than being immersed in the collapse. Here in the 5th dimension, we're immersed in the collapse, so we're having the full experience of what an ascension feels like, which is like full collapse, obviously. We are all stressed and not having a fun time right now. So, up in the 7th dimension, they're more like observing the collapse because stuff does actually physically start to collapse in the 7th dimension, but it's not like their daily experience. It's just like all these random things start to collapse, and then they have to come back in time and figure out what's going on. Then they figure out that these elites are messing with the time. And they realize that they actually, the 7th dimension, gave these psychopaths the time because they had to come back in time to figure out what was going on. And what was going on was that they were messing with time. And so it's like this, like, 111. It's kind of like this weird, like, Inception type situation. It's like Inception and Interstellar. All those were seeded transmissions for what's going on right now. Which is crazy, right? Isn't that crazy? Because I love those movies. I absolutely love those movies. And so, in the 7th dimension, they're, like, observing. Because they come back in time and they, like, look at their past lives. And they're like, oh, we get it. Like, it's an ascension time. Like, it does actually get kind of, like, sad and devastating up in that time. Because I guess what happens is all these souls incarnate. And then they start, like, a bunch disappear because then they disappeared over here. Or something like that is what they're saying. They're not going to tell me everything. Like, they'll explain, like, everything for sure when they come down. But, like, that's what they're telling me. Like, there's something bad is happening over there. So, then they told me that, like, people who are rewiring and our starseeds and stuff, we are, doing, like, timeline work in the 7th dimension. We're, like, working with machines and stuff and coming back in. And all of us are, like, coming back in time and we're doing a bunch of work and stuff. And so, like, that's why we feel like we've had to do a lot of work down here, like, you know, and stuff, because we are in other dimensions as well. And so the crazy part about this, and this is what this all ties into, like, what they told me a few days ago, which I don't know if I even posted those videos, but I will at some point, about how starseeds and lightworkers and ascenders, like Jesus' time, right? We only incarnate during ascension and descension periods. That's it. Then when we're, I don't know what the hell else we do. But that's, like, not normal. So what normally happens with a soul is it incarnates, like, over and over and over and over in a consecutive order type of a thing. Because it's, like, learning all these lessons and it's collecting all this data for, like, its oversoul. But we, like, already have done that. So we're actually, like, this special team. Like, that's why they have been giving me the Avengers a lot, because it is like that. Like, we all come from, like, all these different planet systems, and we are, like, experts in ascension, which is, like, going through a society's shadows and then transmuting them into light. Like, we're timeline weavers, we're timeline workers, like, that kind of stuff. That's, like, our specialty. Like, how Taylor Swift is a pop star, how God, like, made people singers. He's made some of us, timeline, like, fixers. He kind of, like, tells me, like, we're electricians, we're plumbers, that kind of stuff, which I think is so funny. I think that's so funny. And I ended up being a nurse. And he's like, that's the reason why I ended up being a nurse is because, like, it's, like, a metaphor for how I, like, put out so many fires as a nurse. Like, that's basically, like, how I had to, like, keep calm, like, in the midst of, like, fucking chaos all the time. He's like, yeah, that's what you're gonna have to do, because, like, this is about to get really chaotic here. So, like, you are going to be putting out a lot of people's fires, like, mentally now. So I did it, like, physically, obviously, and mentally in the nursing home, you know. And also in my life, like, why my life was so chaotic, 444. Because I was always putting out people's, like, big-ass fires in their lives. And then I was causing my own fires, and then I had to put them out. So I was just in, like, a big, fat, fucking, like, vat of fires my entire life. And the reason for that is because I had to train for this time coming up, because we're going to be putting out a lot of people's fires. So I thought that was interesting too. I did love that. I am loving like all these answers they're giving me to my life now, and how much sense this makes. But it's just like so wild to think about it. So it is like we just experience like different parts of God. So in this part of the dimensional world of Earth, we are experiencing the actual physical experience of a collapse, which is like symbolic of creation itself, of physical matter. Like that's the part of like the creation story that we're in. We're in the physical matter baby part of the story. In the seventh dimension, they're in the like presence part. They're in the like part before creation starts. They're in the observing part of creation. Like they're observing God's creation and how it works more than like experiencing the feeling of it. But then they like remember, obviously, when they like look back, they're like, oh, okay, that's like how we experienced that. And then it like gives you like it's almost like you can re-feel it in a way, but it's different when you're here and you're actually physically feeling like every fucking day is misery and it's hell and it's horrible and like all this shit. It's so different, because then again, like the happiness is also different. So it is kind of like this weird piece of intensity that you don't get with every ascension, is what I'm being told. Like it is really like this dimensional ascension is actually like very special, is what they keep telling me. Like it's like which I just am like, I don't know how to feel about that, because I'm like, we need to even come to terms that that's what's happening, you know. Then we have to come to terms with the fact that this is like a very, very, very special time, because we don't always get to like be the baby of ascension is what they're telling me. Sometimes, because you know, I've told the creation story. If you haven't heard my creation story, the creation story is Sophia was the creator, and she was chilling in presence, which represents the womb in women. And she had this like stirring, she had this like spark, she had this thought of what would happen if she created physical matter. And that thought then created physical matter, kind of like spontaneously, basically. And that is what planets and humans and all that stuff are. We are a result of the creation. And so, we would technically represent the baby in that story, and the seventh dimension would represent presence. It would be like the observing phase of it. And so it's obviously different being the baby than it is being like the womb, versus even being the mother, which the mother is God. And so at the end of all of this, at the end of the road, all roads lead back to God. Because even in the seventh dimension, they lead back to God. Because it's really hard up there too, because like being in the observing point, you're like, because like that's the thing about God, is like God, because I've been told with Sophia, like she knew that with creation she was going to have to create like hell. She was going to have to create ego. She was going to have to create disconnection. She was going to have to create the opposite to creation, because you can't have one without the other. That's how energy works. It's like balance and homeostasis in this particular universe. We're in a universe of polarity, of opposites and all this stuff. And so that's again why this is a really special thing, because we're like literally physically experiencing like the creation of the universe, like within our daily experiences. And I'm like, what? Going to McDonald's and fucking like watching trash television and like seeing the Orange Man like fucking implode this place is like this special crazy, but it's like this wackadoodle thing. So welcome to New Earth, guys. It is way deeper than I thought. So if you're a deep thinker, this is like gold for your ears and your mind and your heart right now. I've always been a deep thinker. So the fact that like there's like even more depth to this place than I thought is incredible. This is very exciting for deep thinkers right now. So yep, and everything's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be great and grand, and the aliens have this all handled and working out fine. So that's where I'm at right now. And I've been pretty up these days. I've not been in hell for a while, so I'm feeling pretty good.